Sixth grade level Excel. This is lesson 94, solving problems using data displayed as percent pie graphs. We're going to learn about pie graphs today, a new kind of graph. Remember that 100% is a whole. 100% means everything. It means the whole enchilada. Notice that the sum of the parts for each whole part is 100%. These pies are called pie graphs. Each slice of the pie represents a number, represents part of the whole. This is a little bit tricky for some kids, but shouldn't be too hard for you. So when you look at this pie graph, this represents everything. Ato has 40% of everything. You can see that's a little bit less than a half. And Gil has 25%, which is a fourth. And you can see the piece of pie that he has there is 1/4. And then Cami has 35%, which is a little bit more than a fourth. And you can see that her pie is about that much. And notice that all the parts, the 40%, 25%, and 35%, when you add them together, it all equals 100% of the whole thing. Then they're going to give you a problem based on this chart. And this is where some of the kids get a little bit lost and have a hard time with it. It says Blue Company sold $200 worth of products. Ado sold 40% of the products. Gil sold 25%. And Cami sold 35% of the products. How much was sold by Ato? Well, if Ato sold 40%, then he sold 40% of the whole thing, and the whole thing is $200 worth of products. He sold a little bit less than half of that 200. 40% is the same thing as 0.40, and so all you have to do is a multiplication problem of $200, the amount that the company sold, times the 40% that Ato sold. Now these zeros are kind of meaningless out here. Better way to do this one would be 200 times 0.4. 0.4 is 4/10, 40 hundredths, 40%. So you put down 0, 0. 2 times 4 is 8. And then the decimal point goes over one spot. And a little bit less than half of 200 would be 80, and that makes sense. So he sold $80 worth of products. That's a little bit tricky for you. Go back and watch it again until you get the understanding, okay? Ray Company sold $360 worth of products. How much was sold by Don? How much was sold by Cy? And how much was sold by Lupe? Well, here's the percents that each person sold. Don sold 50%, or half of the products. Cy sold 30%, and Lupe sold 20%. Total 100% for the whole thing. They are going to give you problems on these pretty soon that they're going to say, how much did Lupe sell? And they're not going to tell you her percent, which means you're going to have to take the 50 and the 30, which makes 80, and you're going to have to subtract that from the 100%, which is the whole thing, to figure out her percent in the first place, and then do your percent multiplication. So how did they get Don's amount of 180? Well, the whole pie is $360. And if he sold 50%, 50% is 0.50 or 0.5, and you do 360 times 0.5, or half of 360, which is $180. So how about Cy? Well, Cy sold 30%. 30% is 0.30, and the whole thing, remember, is 360. So you do $360 times 0.3, because that 0 is meaningless. 0, 6 times 3 is 18, carry the 1. 3 times 3 plus 1 is 9 plus 1 is 10. And the decimal point goes over one spot. So Cy sold $108. Oops, 108. There we go, dollars. Now I want you to try Lupe. Pause the video and turn it back on when you're ready. Okay, so Lupe is 20%, which is 0.2 of this same amount of $360. So you do 360 times 0.2, and that's 0. 6 times 2 is 12. Carry the 1. That's 7. Decimal point goes over one spot. So she sold $72. One way you can kind of check this is that 180, 108, and 72 should all add up to the total for the company, because they are the only three people that are selling things right here, and that's 100% is 360. Everything is $360. Okay. Now here's one. It's kind of like that, and they don't give you any help on it. Go ahead and see if you can figure out the answer for yellow, red, and blue. Pause the video, turn it back on when you're ready to see the answers. Okay, so the problem says 460 children were asked to choose from the 4 colors red, yellow, blue, and green. The color that they liked best. How many chose yellow? How many chose red? How many chose blue? They didn't even ask you to find green, but you know, pretty simple here. So there's 460 kids, and these 460 kids, 10% chose yellow. 10% is 0.1 or 0.10. 0, 6, 4. 460 times 1 is 460. Move the decimal point over 1 spot, and so 46 kids chose yellow. How about red? Well, 45% chose red. So you do 460 times 0.45, 0. This is going to be a little trickier because I got 2 digits to do here. 6 times 5 is 30. Carry the 3. 4 times 5 is 20. Plus 3 is 23. Scribble that out so we don't use it twice on accident. Put a placeholder. 0 times 4 is 0. 6 times 4 is 24. Carry the 2. Oops, I don't want that there. 4 times 4 is 16 plus 2 is 18. 0, 0, 7, 10. Okay, and then the decimal point has to go over 2 spots right there. So that means 207 kids, hey, I can use that. 207 kids chose red. What about blue? 25% chose blue. So you can do 460 times 25%, or 0.25. 0 times 5 is 0. 6 times 5 is 30. 4 times 5 is 20. Plus 3 is 23. Put down a placeholder. Get rid of this. 0 times 2 is 0. 6 times 2 is 12. Carry the 1. 4 times 2 is 8. Plus 1 is 9. 0, 0, 5, 11. So 115 chose blue. And that's it for today's lesson. Thanks for watching.